Hi, everybody. I cannot believe that the season for Cherry and Tech of Fall 2026 is here. And I'm super excited to talk about mentors today. Let me show my screen. So, hi, everybody. My name is Juliet. My pronunciation is she, her. And we are talking about mentors today. Oh, hold on, let me switch here. Okay, yes. So what will be covered? I will share a little bit about what is Cherry and Tech, what is the Launchpad program, what kind of opportunities we have, and of course, we're going to have our guest speaker that does the big surprise for today and what everybody's here for, and then we will have some Q&A at the end. But before we start, I want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge that many of us are joining today from traditional ancestral lands of Indigenous people across what is known as Canada and the United States. We recognize their deep connection to the land and we commit to learning from and with Indigenous community as we work towards justice, equity, and reconciliation. Okay, so what is Cherry on Tech? So we are a Canadian registered nonprofit run entirely by volunteers. And our main mission is support underrepresented genders in tech by helping them to join a tech squad. So as I was saying, we are 100% volunteer run. And what we are going to be presenting a little bit today is a 15-week program that is the Launchpad. And all the programs that we have in Cherry and Tech are free. So at the moment, we have three programs. We have the Launchpad, that is the 15-week program. Is really intense. I won't lie. I don't want to lie anybody about this. But you're going to get to learn so much in a cross-functional space. Then we have the Cherry Squads, that is for anyone that wanna do like a project and they want to get together. The only difference is there won't be that much guidance. It will be up to the squad to work between them. And then we have the Cherry Careers. And this is really excited because our next cohort will come in January. And about the Launchpad, as I was saying, is a 15-week program where we build real skills in a team that we call the squad. The main idea is that you help each other level up and learn skills, build a real project together, and celebrate wins and support each other. This is kind of how it looks like. So, week 0, you will join the program. Week 1 and 3, it will be a lot of discovery, research, prototyping, discovery. Week 4, you are deciding what you want to work on. Between week 5 14, we're going to be working in sprints. And in week 15 is the big presentation. You will be showing off everything that you've been working on. The dates. I feel like this is one of the big announcements that are happening today. So is we are going to be open registration for participants Friday, July 24, and we're just going to give you 1 week to join us pretty much. We always get so many people. So just 1 week. And the dates are from August 30th to December 9. And then again, what are we here for? We want to learn more about being a mentor. And being behind every squad is a mentor who believes in them first. We have two type of mentors. So we have a fairy mentor is a mentor that is going to help participants from day 1 to the end. So this is a bigger commitment because it's 15 weeks, but it's around like 1 to 2 hours per week. And then we have the workshop speakers that GAPS have helped us many times doing in the past. Who are we looking for? So we're looking for you. UX designers, developers, product managers, QA, and UX writers. And what will make a great mentor? You identify as a part of the underrepresented gender community, so women, non-binary, transgender, queer, gender fluid, transit folks, intersex, or two-spirits. You have experience in one of the roles that I already mentioned. You want to mentor others. I feel like you want to inspire. You want to be building your coaching skills, your leadership skills, and you really care about empower the underrepresented communities in tech. And this is how to apply. We'll put these on the event so everybody can know. But we are excited for all of you to join us as our mentors. And here's where we are. Okay, everybody, please welcome Gabs. And I feel like she told me from the beginning I can call her Gabs.
Yeah,
So
of
that's
course.
yeah. So Gabs, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had a twisty, windy career, which I think is really helpful too when you think about from a mentorship perspective. I spent about a decade in healthcare, even down to working in the operating room. And then I transitioned into tech after that. And I have built all kinds of products as a product manager in that space, and then moved on to consulting. And so I'm really excited. I've been working with you guys at Cherry on Tech for a couple of years now, which is really fun. And all I could ever think about when I first found you guys was, where was this when I was starting my tech career? And so I'm really excited to be here today and for us to talk about mentorship.
Love it. Thank you so. Yes. Like I was just telling Gabs before we joined all you that I can always count on Gabs to talk about absolutely any topic for Cherry and Tag. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we get into like beer career stuff, take us back at your very first job or project, and what did success look like back then, and what a difference will be today.
Ooh, such a good question. So my first, I don't know, would you call it like more big girl job, was actually in high school. I graduated early, so I went into the career like accelerator program, and they paired me with a very small property management company. There were 2 employees, and so I went to help part-time. And I remember back then success was like, can you answer the phone? Can you speak to human beings? Can you take good notes and pass it along, right? And so it's fascinating to think back then when I was getting the very early start of my career, my level of success was, can you take good enough notes for someone else to trust that information and go do something with it? Like I myself wasn't trusted to do the work. And I look back at that now thinking, probably good skills to learn, but also like how limiting was that, right? Because I had so much more I could do. And so now when I think about success and my roles now, it's, am I moving blockers? Am I helping the teams that I work with move forward? Am I helping them think bigger than they do alone or independently? And so it's been a quite a long journey when I start tallying up those years, but it's really fun to have seen where that definition of success does change. And one thing that I think that sticks out to me also when I think about the past is, it was on me to change that definition of success. I really didn't have to wait on someone to give me that permission. And so I think that would be another thing that I wished I would have picked up earlier in my career and would have carried that forward.
How important when you say this about the mentor, and in this case your boss or whoever was your leader, to say all of these things. Yeah, so we will get, I feel like we will get these a little bit in the conversation. But okay, so you will have spent 15 plus years in what you call the messy middle of the change. When you hear that phrase now, what is the first memory that comes to mind?
Oh gosh. I think of one of a big project, my first big tech project, before I even had an actual job like in tech. I just was a project manager at the time and got in healthcare and got assigned to a more technical project that was rolling out kiosk, which of course now those are everywhere. We use them for everything. You use a kiosk probably more than you talk to a human being. But back then that was so groundbreaking to not have to speak to a human being to check in for a doctor's appointment, but instead to be able to use a computer to do so. And I had no tech background back then. So, I think messy change was, what is this change? What do I even need to be aware of? And, this was a very large healthcare company. So they went big, right? We didn't just roll it out at one facility, we rolled it out at 200. And so, I think when I think about messy, and it was like, well, what was I even preparing for? What did I even need to kind of get my arms wrapped around? And so for me, that one became super messy in terms of, it was always the unknown. And every day it was like, well, learned something new today, or never prepared myself for that. But I think that's such a beautiful skill. And I think especially when you think about tech in today's world, not just for those of us who are building it, but for those of us who are experiencing it, it's changing faster than we've ever seen it happen before. And so being willing to roll with those punches and understanding that like the messy part is where the change actually happens, I think allows us to be more open to experience and explore what could be out there versus stuck to like, this is what the project said we should do, or this is what my job title is. It gives you that freedom a little bit to get out there and explore some more.
I feel like there's such an important skill to have to be able to like, okay, yes, it's messy. I don't know what is going on. Let's breathe deep. We got this. And I feel like this is a lot of practice. I mean, there's some people that they can do it out of the blue. They came naturally with this. I will say most of us is a muscle that we just keep growing with the time. And definitely is scary. Uh, but again, a muscle, a practice that you need to do. Take us to the moment doing the work. It started turning into leading the work for you. What did that shift actually feel like and what triggered it?
Mm. I was a serial corporate climber, right? I knew I wanted to grow on the ladder. And so I started pretty young in my career, you know, doing the work that it was going to take to climb the ladder. And so I had always thought in my mind, once I had a title that said manager or director or leader, then I would be in that mentorship leadership position and I could really start to lead the work versus do the work.
Mhm.
And I'm very grateful that came sooner, and it just came as a byproduct of I was a really young project manager on a team of nurses who were doing something brand new, something they had never done before. And there was something special about me having this outside perspective that they didn't have that allowed me to step in and lead them just by nature of being the encouragement that this is hard. We are trying to do something new here. This isn't, specifically for nurses, right? This isn't bedside clinical care anymore. This isn't what you went to nursing school for, but your role is now more workflow based. It's more technology based. And so we're going to do something different. And while it may be scary and hard, we can do this. And so I think it's such a beautiful moment to sit back and reflect, because I still think in the moment, I wouldn't have told you I was leading. I would have just told you I was still doing the work. And I think I still held on to until I had that title, I wouldn't get it. And it's interesting because I went from project manager to director pretty quickly, and two separate companies. And so I went from leading a team of 30 to being a director of a company that only had 6 employees. So it was interesting to have the title, but then there was no one to lead, right? We were all responsible for our own vertical and taking care of things. And so I think that was a big eye opener for me too, that the title matters in terms of compensation. And if you are wanting to grow your career, sometimes you need those progressive titles, but it doesn't matter in terms of how you show up and what difference you make on the team and the people around you.
I feel like this is such a big point. In any space, I feel like if you think about like a basketball team, I don't know, yes, like at work, like at school, at any space is we cannot wait to have that leader title to be leading something. And sometimes we feel like it should be something like big. Yes, like I'm leading a whole team, I'm leading a company, but that could be something smaller. Yes, like I'm organizing an event for my classmates to be working together. I don't know, to have fun. You are leading different initiatives that kind of lead to, again, to you get the experience, for you to get the confidence. How do I plan, how do I organize? So yes, waiting for the title is, I don't know, maybe it's underrated. Is this, yes, maybe it's underrated, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And I think, we can all look back on our lives too, where you found something you were passionate about. If it was when you were younger, I wanted to go shopping with my friends at the mall. So I convinced all the moms to say yes so we could all go, or whatever it may have been. I think when you really take a step back and look at it, you definitely have these seasons of your life prior to ever having a leadership title where you were the ringleader, you were moving people through change. And I think when we look at leadership through it's not, I told you what to do or I told you how to do it, but I encouraged and empowered and helped move people through something new or a change. That really is leadership. And we all have that within us. And I'm sure there's something in your life that you've been passionate about enough. You've already done that before you've even considered a leadership position in your formal career.
Definitely. And I feel like this is a good set into our next question, that is, looking back, what do you think, what do you wish someone had meant to you early in your career?
Oh my gosh, yes. Um, it's fascinating too, even growing up in the more corporate structure, mentorship, at least back then, was really only reserved and talked about for former leader titles. The mentorship was talked about in terms of how do you lead other people? How do you do performance reviews? How do you do disciplinary actions? How do you grow to the next career job title or level? And so it really wasn't talked about as an individual contributor to a team. And so I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't grow up seeing seeing that you could have mentors. I also I didn't play sports as a kid, so I didn't have, other team members that I could get mentored from back then. So it was really just going in blind and navigating it the best way I could. Now I look back and I think there were allies I made along the way who would give me informal advice, here or there. And definitely that helped. And I would be remorse to say that I didn't have help along the way, but really figuring out how do I build that more. And I hate to call it formal mentorship because I don't think in today's world there's this where you have to sit down and be like, Juliet, will you be my mentor? And we're going to meet twice a month. You don't necessarily need to have that.
Oh no, we lost her. We lost Gabs. Ooh, okay. I feel like it's so much overwhelming, amazing happening that is internet cannot hold it. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Okay. But I think, finding that person or people with intention that you either have loved their career path and you want to learn more about it, or you love the way they show up in rooms where you would be uncomfortable and they aren't, or you look at how they solve problems and you're like, oh my gosh, I never would have approached it that way. I want to see how they thought about it. I think giving ourselves permission that level of mentorship is out there and available to us. We have to be bold enough to ask for it. And that, again, there's nothing stopping you from asking for it today, whether you're still in college or university, whether you are 12 years into your career or 25 years into your career. None of us have all the answers. And so knowing that we can get out there and find people to learn from just makes us better, well-rounded people.
Yes, I love this. Yes. I feel like I had something else to say and then I got excited. I got it. Like, where did you go? Okay. Okay. Take us to the moment then doing the work is starting turning into leading the work for you. What did that shift actually feel and what triggered it? Did I ask you this already?
I was gonna say, I think we did this one.
Yes, we asked. Yes. Okay, I think you guys. Okay. What is the difference between being good at your work and being ready to lead or mentor someone else? How does a person know that they have crossed that line? How do I know that I'm ready to mentor? Yes.
Yeah. So I think if I were to simplify what the difference is, it's where you think you're providing value. I think that's the easiest way for you to sit down and measure that for yourself. Because there's a lot of tangible value that you can prove when you're doing the work, right? I got my tickets done, or I did this demo, or I was ready for the sales call. Those kinds of things, they're very tangible. And as humans, most of us like that. It's that mentality of checking something off the to-do list and I got it done. When you're leading people or leading projects, it's a little bit different because you aren't really responsible per se for the success of the task getting done. Now, if you are in a formal leadership role, obviously you are, responsible for your team hitting their goals and being successful. But your value at that point is not in doing the work, but in empowering and moving people to be able to get the work done. And it definitely, I think, how do you know you're ready? More so as when, how do I know that I'm inspiring others? Or really for me, it was, I feel confident enough in myself, in the work product that I'm delivering, that I can encourage others to come along the journey with me. Because I was still in a, individual contributor role for a long time while I was still, quote unquote, leading. And so sometimes you have to juggle both of those at the same time,
Mhm.
and just understanding, like, if that's the position you're in, knowing that, not letting that, fail your actual job that you need to get done, but also being that confident and knowing I'm delivering value by helping others get their work done too.
I was going to mention that, like anything is, like, let's say I wish to be a mentor, I wish to be a leader. Is like, what kind of skills do I need to do, or what do I need to do to be there? And it's sometimes, again, is, can I create something to build those skills? Can I create an environment, or be in an environment where I can do this? And I will give an example. For me is what are we doing exactly right now? I feel like Cherry on Tech is like, I knew that I wanted to be more into leadership, mentoring different people, different spaces. And it's like, okay, what about if I create something where I can learn in the process? And definitely it's scary, because when we started doing Cherry on Tech and we had our first cohort, is like, we don't know what we're doing, but let's give it a try. And I will say that yes, we were putting a lot of the knowledge of, like, with Ali, the other co-founder, like our careers together when we were putting the program together. And I will say until today, there is a lot of things that we can learn to put a new cohort adding. Like every time that we do it, it's like, oh, we could have done this, we could have added that. But again, I feel like we are not scared. I feel like that's one of the things. We are not scared to do mistakes, and we are not scared to say, okay, we are not the best at something, how we can improve it. So, um, how can find spaces where you can lead, or when you can build that skill and that muscle, like anything?
Well, and I think that's such an important call out, right? If you're stepping into mentorship, you're stepping into an acceptance of failure, because people by nature, humans, we are not
Mhm.
perfect. We're going to mess up. We're going to have back steps. We're going to have side steps. We're going to have to, kind of get back on track. And so I think that's such an important thing to call out, Julie, is that you also have to understand, especially if you're one of those, I'm a perfectionist, or I always get it right, or I'm the once you move into mentoring people, that's not the case, because you actually don't have full control of the outcome anymore. It's not on you for what happens after the mentorship happens. And so I think that's such an important reminder also that, do you feel safe to do that in the environment that you're attempting to mentor in? And also for me, I think back, early on, I didn't have like nervous system tools. I didn't even know what my nervous system was. I, wasn't meditating and journaling and all of those things. And so that's the other thing too, is like, I would recommend that now looking back, do you have the things to take care of yourself first, so that you can be grounded enough to show up and help take care of others?
I was going to give another example. I hope that it doesn't mess with our questions, but um, when I switched careers into UX design, I think people start asking me, oh, hey, you used to be working in retail and now you are doing UX design. How do you do that? And I feel like for me, it was just so natural. Like, yeah, let's sit down and I answered your questions. And then as I keep talking to more and more people, a lot of people were asking the same questions. So I feel like even though at that point I was like, oh my goodness, I'm the best UX designer, they were not asking about that. They were asking about my experience or switching careers, a new space, looking for a job. So again, and it was scary. Yes, I feel like I started doing a lot of ADP list mentorship, and it's like, oh, is people even interested to talk to me? But I knew the kind of questions that they were asking, and I knew the kind of mentorship that they were looking for. So again, I do not have to be an expert in the whole, in this case, UX world and in the professional and how to find a job. I don't need to be expert. I feel like they just want to hear uh, like your life and your experience, and I feel like that's valuable too. I feel like sometimes we forget all the valuable things that we have as individuals, because sometimes I compare to someone else. Oh my goodness, that person have done so much. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And, I think it's such a good reminder, because what may work for someone to talk to me about my experience, but then they may look at me and say, I have really nothing in common with you. That was inspiring, but it didn't empower me to move forward because I didn't really see myself in that story. And then they may talk to you, Juliet, and they're like, oh, I absolutely see myself in that story. Now I know exactly what the next step to take is. And I think along those lines of, you don't have to be an expert. Mentorship is not laying out the entire yellow brick road and then telling everyone, okay, if you take these 15 steps, this is exactly how you're going to get there. But instead, it's like, here's what worked for me, and listening to your story, here's what I think would be next and a good next step to take. And that's oftentimes what people need. They really just need that unlock to take that next first step. And then that will encourage them to take the following steps afterwards. So again, yeah, you don't need to have all of the steps or all of the answers laid out, because just being there to get them moving in that first one is going to be super helpful.
See, I told you the next question was exactly about this. Yeah, the next question, but it's like a lot of IC feels like they need, I see as individual contributor, they need a senior title before they can mentor anyone. Let's see if you have something else different to say, but what would you say to someone with 3 to 5 years of experience who is wondering if they have anything worth offering yet? But I feel like we answered this already. See, I told you.
It's okay. The biggest thing I would say is, if you're wondering if you have something that's worth it, you do. The people who don't have anything to offer don't even wonder about it. They are so self-absorbed and stuck in their self and what they're doing and what they're doing right and how good they are, that they're not even thinking about others. So if you're already thinking about it, you have what it takes to just open the door for someone else. And one thing I will tell you, even as I have moved further along in my career and moved into more where I was the formal mentor for people, I learn more from my mentees than they will ever learn from me. And so also, I think, see it as it's a win-win for both of you. You guys are going to learn from each other. And you can't put a price tag or a timeline, or any sort of tangible benefit on that, other than it feels good to be helping another person and also know that you're doing that for them in return.
Look at you. See, I told you. Okay. Uh, you have supported more than 200 founders and executives through growth and pivots. What is one mentorship habit or question you use that and any individual contributors can borrow? I feel like this is good because it's something that you're telling again, executives, founders, and it's something that anyone can do. Mm-hmm. So, what will be that habit, that question?
So the biggest thing that I would say has been my kind of success factor that I tell people all the time is, I don't care if you're in an in-person meeting, if you're in a boardroom, if you're on a Zoom meeting, wherever it is, we're humans. You are talking to other humans on the other side. And I think specifically, I can look back when I was in an individual contributor role, I was afraid to be human in front of leaders. I was afraid that would make them think about me different or, judge me. And so I would just go and I'd sit, back then we were all in office all the time, and I'd have my blazer on and I'd sit prim and proper and I wouldn't speak unless spoken to, and, really try to be so grateful I got a chance to be in the room and not contribute while I was there. And now what I will tell you is, I talk to them like humans. How was your weekend? Or if I know they have a dog, what's your dog been up to? Or if I know they have a favorite country or food, or just ask them questions like they are people, because they have lives outside of work like we do. And of course, not every meeting, not every room is that necessarily, do you have space for that? But one thing I found was they also are coming in a very usually tense, buttoned up way, because of maybe they just came from making a multi-million-dollar decision that's weighing heavy on them, or they're making a decision about people and that's weighing heavy on them. And the minute you kind of take this, let me break that wall down a little bit and just be human to human sitting next to you, suddenly we laugh a little, we smile a little. And I have an example that I would love to share, because I think specifically for the Cherry on Tech community, it means a lot. I was going into, as a consultant, an interview with a potential client, and it was a panel interview. It was on Zoom. And the person that was introducing me, he gave me these prep interviews to prepare me before I went in there. And he kept telling me, there's a person on the panel. She doesn't laugh. She doesn't smile. She's very difficult to build a relationship with. So, it was kind of rolling around in my head, what am I getting myself into? And I get on and everyone turns off their camera. She is the only underrepresented woman on the call compared to the others. And so right away, I was like, it's not her. Like, you you didn't learn to build connections with people, right? You only learned how to build connections with certain people. And I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, like, I don't remember exactly what I asked her, but it was some sort of personal, like, what fun thing did you do this weekend, or something like that. And within 5 minutes, she and I were cracking up laughing, and we still have a working relationship to this day. And every time we see each other in the hall, we're like, hey, best friend. And like, all of that just based on a quick 5-minute interaction on a call. And so I think that's the other thing, is you might hear mentors tell you, you can't speak to them that way, or you can't, interact that way. And so use your gut feeling in some of this too, of like, we are all people. And at the end of the day, humanity wants to be treated like humans. And so, like, let's do that. And you have a chance to do that no matter what your job title is.
I feel like before you start saying any of this, I was just thinking, something that I have always liked about Gabs in her presence on LinkedIn. Again, this is how we know each other. We have
That's
never
right.
met in person, but I'm hoping that in one point in our lives. But it's something that I have always liked about you is like you are so you. Yes, like you're bubbly, you're fun, like you're authentic. Like in LinkedIn, even though the kind of work that you do, like you were saying at the beginning, you always think like, oh, this is like something like so square, and you have to dress in this way, and you have to talk in this way. But I feel like to be able to again being yourself in like different spaces and be able to be again, yeah, yes, authentic is such a powerful thing, and I feel like this is something that I have always liked and admired so much about you.
Oh,
uh, yeah, even before you start saying this, and then you just say it, so I love it.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay, what mistakes do well-intentioned mentors make, especially when mentoring someone from an underrepresented gender background in tech, and how can they avoid them?
Mm. I think it's not being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And I think we touched on this a little bit earlier too, around like, it isn't a here's the 15-step process. And if everyone follows these exact same 15 steps, they all have the same outcome. I think, we wish that that's what life was like, specifically in the career world right now. It's so wild. And I think we wish we could sit down with everyone and be like, okay, you do these 12 things, you're going to have a job next week. We haven't found that to be true, and specifically in the tech industry right now. But one thing, I think to the point that you mentioned, Juliet, around like how vulnerable and authentic I am on LinkedIn, part of that came from, I'm a mom, I have 4 kids, and I started my career really young because I had children really young. And so I had to build a life to be able to support those children. And I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of really powerful women in my career, but they either didn't have kids or weren't married or, lived a very different lifestyle than I did. And so it'd be really hard when I go ask for advice and it was like, well, I just went to networking events 3 nights a week and I took people out to coffee chats all the time. And it was like, I don't have a moment to wash my hair some weeks, like let alone, go to 3 networking events. And so I think it's those kinds of things too, of that, even with the most well-intentioned, like all guards down, I'm going to tell you exactly what worked for me. Also give some understanding and some grace specifically to the underrepresented communities. They're facing barriers and challenges that I've never faced as a white woman, right? I have faced challenges as a woman, but I can't say what a woman of color has faced because I'm not one. And I know that it's different. And so I think one of that is just, with the best intention, give your best advice, but also like, don't take it personal if that doesn't work for them or it doesn't resonate, because their story is very different than yours. And then, one thing too, I think, is learn how to be an ally. So they may come to you and even say, like, as a mentor, hey, I tried that thing, but I didn't actually get great results. Okay, this is where being a great mentor comes in, where it's like, okay, that was a block. Let's try something different. Let's figure out what's an alternative path, and be willing to know that your advice as a mentor may not always be the best advice for them, even if you meant it to be, the absolute best that it could be. I have a woman that I mentor now. She's a woman of color. She's in the spirit industry. So I'm not. I have never worked in the spirit and beverage industry. I'm not even in CPG, so like I can't even tell you what like productizing a physical product and putting it on the shelf looks like. And so there's a lot of times too where she'll come to me and say, "Hey, this is what's going on," and I can kind of reiterate back my interpretation or what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling in the moment. But at the end of the day, she also needs to have people in the industry that are mentors to her or who can really lead her and guide her. And that's not my place to say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, or I would never do that because I haven't walked that journey. I can't, explain what that would be. And so I think that's the other thing too, is like being open to, as I mentioned earlier, I've learned more from my mentees than they've ever learned from me. And that's another way. They might be entering a new industry or type of product or type of job or role that you never have, and being willing to support where you can, but also acknowledging where that's not your strong suit and you may not have the best answers, but connecting them to people who are, or supporting them when they find someone who can help in that area.
Yes. And I mean, I feel like this is how we ended up getting to you. I feel like someone that I was talking first, I said, I feel like Gaps will be a great fit. And I feel like this is how we ended up having you on Cherry on Tech. So, yes, love it. I feel like this is a great, again, for our next question that is, um, you have volunteered with Cherry on Tech in different capacities over the time. From what you have seen in firsthand, what does it mean for a participant to have a mentor who looks like them? And how does that representation actually share their paths in tech?
I think just the biggest thing that comes to mind, and you brought it up earlier, but Cherry on Tech has genuinely been the safe space that I think we all would have looked for those of us who have done career pivots, to have a softer landing or to have a place to practice, to feel like we can get some of that confidence underneath us because we're not out there in the real world figuring it out firsthand necessarily. But being on a squad, which was who I mentored, or in this accelerator program or the 15-week program, you're going to get all of the real life skills and conversations and questions and challenges that you're going to get on a real team, but you're getting them in a space where you have people who look like you have people who have walked parts of your journey, and you have people who are fierce advocates for what you're going after. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I can think about. I think of several of my cherries from my squad that I still keep in touch with, and every time I see they get a new job or a new promotion on LinkedIn, I literally am jumping up and down doing a happy dance because I remember the conversations we had in their cycle where they were like, I don't even know what to do for sprint one. I don't even know what a sprint is. I don't even know, what are you talking about, a ticket? What am I supposed to put in this ticket? And now they're like off and they're thriving. And that's just such a beautiful thing to get to witness and to have that moment. Like, we all need more joy in our life, I think. And that's a big joy of mine, is to get to still see those and be able to celebrate with them. And as crappy as LinkedIn can be some days, those are the beautiful parts when you get to see those wins.
I love that. Yeah, because I get so excited again. I feel like these, for me, we are able to like mentor or have around like 40, 50, 60 participants sometimes in a cohort. So be able to see so many people excited to practice. And I love when you were saying this is a soft landing, because something that I tell a lot of the participants and the cherries is like, hey, this is going to be hard, but the cool thing is you're in a safe space when you can make the mistakes, you can ask the questions, and you can learn. We do not have sometimes that space when we are in our first job and we don't know how to ask and who to ask. So I feel like that's the main intention of the Launchpad program, is to give that access of like hands-on experience in a team that all are learning at the same time. So yeah, I feel like, again, I tell a lot of people the first month and a half is going to be so scary, and is going to be a lot. But again, that's the main point of having mentors, that they're going to say, hey, this happened at work all the time, and we go with it. I feel like, again, we go back to the beginning, when we were talking, that is like such a good skill to have, is like, let's see how we fix it, let's see what we do first, prioritization, let's all talk about it, let's communicate. So really excited about, like, yeah, Launchpad as like a good space for people to learn. And other thing that I was going to say, is so hard to find on a space like it's just for underrepresented genders. Yes, it's just all the participants, all the mentors, all the volunteers, everybody absolutely is underrepresented in this. You will never, I feel like it will be really hard to find in real life something like this. And I will say mostly to like developers are usually all like heterosexual men. So I feel like for us to have a space where is really just is for us is really cool. Um, what would you say that is impactful for the mentors to be part of sharing tech and mentoring underrepresented genders?
I think I just keep going back to it. You're going to get so much out of it. And, I think it's hard. I wish I could say you're going to walk away with 12 bonus points in your joy bucket today. And you're going to be, I think those are so hard, but it is this, it becomes, right now for me, I feel like I could say lifelong, right? Because it's been several years for me since I've been partnering with Cherry on Tech in different ways. And, I can remember just a few months ago, one of my cherries came to me and said, okay, I have 2 job offers. Either one of them are good. I would love for you to look at them if you have time and just tell me, like, what do you see out of them? What questions would you ask, right? And that's not something that came up in the cohort. That's not something that came up in the project. But what you do learn as a participant in the cohort is you learn how to ask questions. You learn how to say, I don't know. You learn how to do hard things that you've never done before. And those are invaluable skills. But then also to know that you're learning how to go ask a mentor for advice, because I think just in my life, not even just my career, how many times did I make really stupid decisions because I didn't know I could go ask for advice from someone? Like, I think about, when a car broke down, I just went and bought a new one instead of fixing it. Like, because why would I fix it? And so it's like these kind of things where you can, as a mentor, help others, especially in our underrepresented communities, help them avoid some of the same mistakes you've made or you've seen made in the world. Because yes, Cherry on Tech is this kind of soft space where everyone will, it will feel very cohesive, but they're going to go out in the real world and they're going to experience a boss who is not so kind, or a partner or a peer on a project that's not so kind. And just for them to remember, inside of this safe space, they did really good work and you enabled that to happen, and that they can come back to you again. And also, like, the world's a wild place right now. There could be someone that I am mentoring today that could be my boss next year, right? And so that's the other thing, is like, you are also building your own network and you just don't know what that will do for you in your future either. And now I feel like I may not have fully answered that question, Juliet, but I got on a soapbox, and so here we go.
I love this. No. And I feel like this is such an important reminder of us when we, like, from networking to meeting people, like, again, like you, or like in this space as you working with others. You never know. I feel like you never know who are you meeting, how you meeting them. They're going to see your work. They're going to see how much curious you are. And I feel like as a mentor, as cherries are all the participants, is like putting your best work all the time is going to be really impactful. Again, let's say between mentors, I met Gabs and she's amazing, and I need someone to coach me and someone to help me with my business. I will think of Gabs. I feel like right away, and I feel like, again, that's so impactful. You never know who you're meeting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you can think about 3 or 5 skills that will be really valuable for a mentor to have, what would you suggest?
Ooh. Openness.
These are questions that I didn't write for you, so I'm like throwing them at you, like, yeah. Anyway, yes. Openness.
Yes, I think openness, and I think that goes 2 ways. Are they open to learning themselves and open to making adjustments based on what their mentee needs? But also openness to understanding that their mentee is going to come with a different story, a different background, a different challenge, and it may take some creativity to help solve that. Confidence, and I think that's because confidence is, I just lost the word. that's really a challenge, but this is what happens when we do this on a Friday night. It radiates, right? And others pick up on your confidence. And so I think your mentees are going to need to borrow some of yours in order to make it through the launch pad. And that's just beautiful that if you're radiating and overflowing with enough of it of your own, that you can share some of it with others. And that's not to say you have it all the time. I don't. I have seasons where I do and seasons where I don't, or projects where I do and projects where I don't. But just knowing that you have that inside of you and you can help share that. Let's see, that's two. The other one that's coming to mind is just a connector. And, I think a lot of times you'll hear that and you think, oh, well, you have to have a huge personal brand or you have to have this huge network. And I don't think that that's true at all. But I think being able to go in and meet someone and saying, oh, they were so curious. They asked so many questions. I saw that in them, and helping them harness that. And then when you meet someone at, at a networking event or whatever it may be, and they're looking for someone who can ask good questions, maybe they're doing customer discovery for an app they're building, and they're like, oh, you should go ask this person that was my mentee because they answered questions so well, or they asked really good questions. And so I think just being open enough to have that, I'm willing to connect, because we all need support to make it through our careers, especially in this day and age. And so, am I open to connecting the people in my life, no matter what path that they came to me on, that I think could be a good match? And that's because, again, you were open enough to kind of see them, see their stories, see their strengths, and then you know exactly who to connect them with, versus let me just connect you with hundreds of people and it doesn't go anywhere. That one special connection goes much further.
I was going to say that maybe in these regards is be able to see beyond. I feel
Mm.
like sometimes people say, oh, I don't have confidence, oh, I don't know how to do that, oh, they're not even saying it, and you can see it. Again, this is with a lot of practice when you talk to a lot of people, and you are surrounded people and you're interested in mentoring. But I feel like to be able to see people beyond of what they're present and say, I think you're really good at this. I feel like you're missing this point. What about if we try something different? So I feel like to be able to ask them questions and try to find their special superpower is so cool. I feel like it's just for people to be able to see others is so
Mm.
empowering. I feel like that's going to help so much when you're mentoring others. Is like, I think this is all the time that we've been talking, or everything that you've been asking, you're so good at these things, you're so good at this other skill. And sometimes people do not feel that confident inside of them, and then when you tell them, you can see like their eyes like shine, and I say, oh my goodness, thank you so much. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think as a mentor too, think about how much you take from that. Because then you go into a room where maybe you're not feeling so confident and you're experiencing, where there's some decisions being made you're not comfortable with or you're unsure of, and you want to ask questions, or someone acts out or does something crazy at work. I think that also gives you so much power, because then you've learned to see them as a person, to see through the initial behavior, but to see what's, the underlying reason. And I think, I can think of so many situations where I've experienced something and I'm just take a step back and I'm like, you know what? That wasn't personal. That wasn't to me. That was, whatever. They may have had a bad day, or this project's really weighing on them, or they're being asked to do something that they don't feel really strong in. And so I think too, like, that's a way for you to flex that muscle and to really try and get that muscle to grow, because it's such a powerful skill for you to, as a mentor, to carry through your life too, because there will be situations even as a mentor where you also are the mentee in a different spot, and you get to be able to flex that muscle.
I love, I mean, I feel like we mentioned this already, and you mentioned it as like you are learning so much with when you are with your mentee. And I feel like that too. I feel like for you to be able to learn and feel like, oh my goodness, I have never thought about that. Such a way to do these things. So yeah, to be able to see your mentee as a space where you can learn is going to be so powerful. Yes, building that relationship and that mentor muscle. Mhm. Okay, I feel like The questions that there are is about where are when do we do start like the cohort, and so let me go back into my presentation deck. People were asking about skills. Hold on, I made it. Let me go back into this. So I feel like I don't know what it says Wednesday, December 9th. That's not a Wednesday, that's a Sunday. But the important for participants, if you want to sign up for the next cohort, we are opening registration for participants next Friday. And we are just going to be opening registration for a week because I just don't want to say to too many no. I feel like that's my big thing here. I want to say yes to as many of you as I can. But again, our capacity is limited. So I have to leave it so just for a week. And for the mentors that want to sign up, again, you have the form here. You can do, mentors can register right now. So open for everybody to mentors. We will message you and email you to learn more about you, but you can go in and start doing this. And this is the big news again. Next Friday, we are going to have an open house. I call it like an open house. Mostly, we're going to talk about what is Launchpad, what it's about, how do we break it down, and again, what is building skills and confidence in a real experience in a tech squad. So, how do we break down the work? Who do you work with? What kind of projects are there? We have launched, I think, around more like 20, 30 projects in all the cohorts that we have had. So it's really cool to see projects that are so close to our hearts. All the problem spaces are based in like the problems that underrepresented genders go in nowadays. So this is really impactful. I feel like that's it. Thank you everybody that joined us today. If you want to know more about us, the best space is our LinkedIn. That's when we publish absolutely everything, latest news. So yeah, just follow us and LinkedIn. Gabs, thank you so much for this. We love to have you every single time. Maybe Rosa will call you for something else.
Yeah, it's like I'm getting ready to put my mentor application in, so everyone come join me.
Yeah.
We can have a mentor hangout too.
I know, love it so much. Gabs, have a great Friday. Thank you for enjoying, like, really, like, having fun with us with Friday, talking about your experience. It's amazing.
Of course, it's so good to see you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.